Now is the time for me to scoot on down to the other end of the couch. So, Eton, you can take my place on the hot cushion. So today, I'm going to discuss your fantasy football footprint and follow that up with a question. So please keep in mind, I'm going to be very direct, to the point, and brutally honest, and the questions are not necessarily going to be easy. Is that okay?
I love it. I'm ready.
All right, before we get into the meat of this potato, I'd like to ask just a few things about you. You've had a lot of great guests on your podcast, Dynasty Diagnostics. What are the two that stick out the most to you?
Two guests that stick out the most to me. First and foremost, I mention him on almost every podcast. His website, airyards.com, is just one of the most fantastic things you can find on the internet. Josh Hermsmeyer, of all the guests that I've spoken to, is the one that I think has probably broken the mold more than anybody else, just because of his bringing air yards to the forefront. I know he didn't create it, but he made it accessible. I think he created CPOE as well, and that has been another thing that has helped my evaluation of quarterbacks in more ways than one. So Josh Hermsmeyer, I would say, is probably the guest that I took the most from. Now, trying to find that second one, man, there's a lot of people, like you mentioned, that I've spoken to. Most recently, I would say at least this go-around, I'm not remembering all the way to last year, but at least this go-around, it was a lot to take away from what Rich Rebar had to say. The Swami of Konami himself, he should not. I think it's a disservice to him that he's actually just known as that, because he's so much brighter than just that. He's so much more intelligent than just that. I mean, this is a guy that knows the personnel frequency formations for every team, at the drop of a hat. Between him and guys like Russell Clay, their rookie knowledge and the way that they are able to actually kind of go through their process of how they evaluate these prospects, I think is second to none. So I would have to say that he is probably the number two on that board.
That's pretty cool. And there are a lot of great names on that board. So I recommend everybody check out your podcast. You can go back in time and still listen to them. That's the amazing thing about technology. All right. So whereabouts do you live in this world?
I'm in Los Angeles, California. I'm in Crazy Town, USA.
Yeah. The granola state, huh? All right. So who is the player that helped you win that you then started to draft anywhere you could get him?
Player that helped me win that I then started to draft anywhere I could get him was Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill he's on all of my rosters, and it's for this simple reason. I'm going for ceiling on my rosters. I'm going for ceiling as much as possible. So when people come to me and say, oh, he's boom bust, I say, great, absolutely, get him on my team. The thing that makes Tyreek Hill so different to that is not only does he provide the same ceiling being paired with Patrick Mahomes and having the ability to score an 80-yard touchdown on the first play of the game, he also has formed himself into a Steve Smith type receiver, a guy that is strong enough at the catch point to be able to make contested catches and rack up receptions at a rate that you wouldn't necessarily think a deep ball threat could. So I think that is the perfect guy to target in that scenario. And the one that I'm looking for right now that I'm kind of pushing that people are staying away from because maybe they're scared of his injury history is Marquise Brown. I think he can do a lot of the same things that Tyreek can do. And I think that with a few years of having NFL doctors being able to work on him and get him up to speed, that we're going to see a little bit of a jump from Marquise Brown. I'm not worried about Devin Duvernay at all. I think Mark Andrews, just like Travis Kelce is the one in Kansas City, Mark Andrews is the clear one in Baltimore. And I think that's a good thing for that secondary receiver because I think that he's just going to have less to deal with a defense that is less focused on him and more focused on the middle of the field. As long as they keep the ability to rotate him in the flanker role and rotate him back into the Z portion of the field, I think he's just going to have a blast and have a field day going forward. And he's, to me, massively undervalued at the current moment.
Okay. Well, I'm a beer guy. You're in one of the beer meccas of the world. So what's your favorite style of beer?
See, now this is the tough question because I'm not a beer guy, man. I've never been a beer guy. You offer me shots versus any type of beer, and I'm taking the shots every time. If you had to say like what I'm drinking, what the alcohol of choice is, Hennessy, of course, is something I do enjoy. But outside of that, I'm a big gin and tonic guy, so I do like that as well. I see Jeremy rooting for it in the background.
Yeah, that's the going out drink.
Love it.
All right, so my final intro question, what is your favorite thing about fantasy football?
Favorite thing about fantasy football? You know what? It's not the numbers. It's not looking at these players. It's the mind games. You know, it's being able to figure out trades. I've been in sales for a large portion of my professional career. And I've learned a thing or two about negotiating. I've learned a thing or two about personality types and, how to negotiate with a certain type of person versus, the types of things you need to do in a different scenario to get results. And so it's the psychological aspect of being able to have that camaraderie with the fellow owners, but also kind of just break them down and get to learn their tendencies and learn the type of things that you can predict that will at least allow you to either better maneuver around like a draft board or make trades with maybe certain people that are prone to selling picks or are prone to overvaluing a wide receiver or are prone to undervaluing maybe a guy that hasn't produced yet. So it's the psychological aspect of being able to kind of figure out your opponents that really appeals to me.
That's pretty cool. I like that there's so little scoring that you actually can get a point for participation. So now it's time for the hard-hitting analysis and drama-laden questions. Are you ready?
Ready.
Question number 1. One of the bigger winners of the draft was the Las Vegas Raiders. Many people felt that the team would not be driven by Carr post-draft. Carr was a draft faller in 2020 Dynasty and could be had for Jeep. If he keeps on trucking, his value will certainly stop depreciating. It is unfortunate that the Raiders drafted Bryan Edwards and not Van Jefferson. You have a podcast called The Dynasty Diagnostic where you relate Dynasty teams to a car. In what year did Nintendo release the first true 64-bit video game system, the N64?
Oh man, if I'm gonna answer this question, I'm absolutely gonna cheat. So just let me know right now whether or not that's
no. You gotta answer. You gotta answer. Quick.
N64. Let's say 98.
Close. 1996. Really close.
Okay, close enough.
Question number 2. I am down in Dallas, Texas. Big D and Big T. Here we drink iced tea like it's water. I think the stuff is tasty with a capital T. I never listened to Ice-T's music, but he was great in Johnny Mnemonic. T. Higgins will command a higher price now that the QB 1.01 is throwing to him. What is Higgins' price after the 2020 draft?
What is it or what should it be? Those are two separate questions here. I'm gonna have to say that T. Higgins' price right now will probably be a high second round pick, probably like 201, something in that range. But I think that's overvaluing him.
I'm sorry, the answer is steep. The price of tea is steep.
Okay. I'm starting to get it. Let's go. Go for the next one.
Question number 3. Eton, you and I both appear to have a lot in common. I've seen your posts on shows and movies, and you like some great stuff. You appreciate video games, and I do that as well. You do a podcast, and I'm not sure if you know that about me, but I do a podcast as well. If we were drafting in a 2020 startup, and I was 2 picks away in the early 6th, who would you have to trade in front of me to pick?
I'm gonna have to ask. I'm gonna have to phone a friend on this one. Somebody's gonna have to explain this one to me. Do I have a lifeline? Can I get a lifeline?
So the question is, if I'm picking first in the 6th round and you're behind me, who would you have to trade up in front of me to get?
Who would I have to trade up in front of you to get? 6th round. I have no idea.
The answer would be Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd.
Okay.
Oh, man, we've already talked about several times.
See,
I also love Tyler Boyd.
See, the reason that I didn't get that one is because to me, Tyler Boyd available in the 6th round is preposterous. It's not something I would ever even think about. So,
which is why you would have to trade up to get him. I mean, it only makes sense. The question is purely factual.
But to take Eton's side a little bit, the question was, who would you have to trade up to get in front of you? So I was thinking it would have to be a player that you would throw in, but it was a startup. So it was a trick question because you wouldn't have that player that you would be trading. So I was going to say the player does not exist.
I would have accepted that answer.
You do a show with a man who wears a wrestling onesie. It is a great 1-2 punch for your on-air personalities. I recently got to tease Stompy about Jalen Hurts during the Superflex Super Show draft coverage. I saw that Philly now has 2 QBs, one that is Hurts and one that is always hurt. In what year was the 1954 Ford Mustang first released for sale?
1954.
Oh, that would be incorrect. The Ford Mustang was not released until 1964. So there was no 1954 Ford Mustang. All right, I feel bad for you because we've only done 4 questions, but you didn't get any of them right. You were close. So I have a follow-up question that I think fits pretty well, and I'll go ahead and do this one here. So
wait, before you jump in, I just realized something. What if, with all the NFL rule changes, that Philly is being way ahead of the game and they're preparing for the NFL to move to Superflex format?
It's NFL 2 QB. It's happening.
You got to start 2 QBs every play?
I think so.
It's possible.
If they keep adding games, they might just need to play one every other game. So we might just, get to a full 2 QB league.
Yeah, I mean, the Taysom Hill fad is not just to have that role, but the role is the second QB on the field. There we go.
It's possible. All right. I'm going to give a bonus question here, so bear with me. The Denver, Colorado Broncos and the Arizona Cardinals both invested into their QBs of the future this offseason. Denver got an amazing route-running technician in Jerry Jeudy, while the Cardinals traded for a top-5 wideout in DeAndre Hopkins. Neither drafted a player from the Utah Utes. If a plane carrying the Cardinals and Broncos players crashed on the corner of the 4 states, what's the there's 4 states where all of their corners touch. I can't really remember what states they are.
It's like Colorado's one of them.
Yeah, Colorado. And
not a geography guy.
Right. I'm not sure.
Nevada?
Okay. Well, all right, Eton. So if the plane were to crash on there, people die, where would you bury the survivors?
You would not. You would not bury the survivors because
we win. We got one right.
There we go. I got a point. I'm happy now.
All right,
can go home happy.
The bonus question got it. So, yeah, part of the fun. All right, so yeah, part of the fun with that is, some of the questions will direct you one way and some will direct you another, but you might catch some of the answers and not the others. But yeah, you hung on there good for that one. So
I love it.
All right, so I'll end this segment, and thanks for your time. I appreciate your candid and truthful answers and my insightful and hard-hitting analysis.